Hello and welcome. Tonight, the Anambra State Police Command vows to fish out killers of 4 vigilante operatives. National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu inaugurates the Federal Government's Council for the Coordination and Protection of Critical National Assets and Infrastructure. And Vice President Kashim Shettima launches the Grand Challenges Nigeria project aimed at driving innovation for a sustainable future for Nigerians.
On business news, African Development Bank unveils $56 million Climate Action Fund to transform projects in 37 low-income African countries.
On sports news tonight, Rwanda's Amavubi ends the Super Eagles of Nigeria unbeaten run in Group D of the African Cup of Nations qualifier with a shocking victory in New York.
And from the nation's capital, the Lagos International Theatre Festival wraps with South African musical Metsi amongst other shows across the city.
And in international news from London, authorities say at least 11 people have died and 63 people have been injured in a Russian missile attack a day after Joe Biden gave Ukraine permission to use long-range weapons inside Russia.
We start off from the country's north-central region, where the Nigerian Air Force has confirmed that airstrikes conducted by the air component of Operation Fansanyama on November the 16th successfully wiped out a major arms depot and the residence of notorious bandit kingpin Malam Saleh in Palele, Shiroro local government area, Niger State, and killed a great number of terrorists. A statement from Air Commodore Olushola Akimboyewa, the Nigerian Air Force's Director of Public Relations, explains that the air component of Operation Fansanyama, leveraging critical intelligence, tracked Malam Saleh's movements and meticulously planned this strike to dismantle his operations. Malam Saleh, a known loyalist of Dogo Gide, had long terrorized Shiroro communities with relentless attacks, abductions, and extortions. The Nigerian Air Force says it is committed to collaborating with ground forces, maintaining air dominance through regular patrols, real-time situational awareness, and precision interdictions. In Abia State, 2 police officers assigned to a member of House of Representatives representing Isialangwa North-South constituency, Honorable Ginger Omosibe, were ambushed by armed assailants while on official duty in Umuahia. The incident, which occurred around 8:30 p.m. yesterday, left 1 police officer who sustained multiple gunshot wounds dead, while the other officer and the driver escaped the attack. According to a statement by the spokesperson of the Abia State Police Command, Maureen Chinaka, the officers were in a police Toyota Hilux vehicle after dropping off the Honorable in Umuahia. The vehicle was intercepted in Ubakala by armed men dressed in black attire, operating in a Toyota Corolla with tinted windows. The statement adds that the Abia State Police is committed to bringing the perpetrators to justice. Staying with the violence in the southeast, and the Commissioner of Police, Nage Obono Itam, has promised that the command will fish out the criminals that murdered 4 vigilante operatives and left 2 others seriously injured in Anambra State. Gunmen operating in unregistered vehicles at Ikagu Abatete murdered 3 members of the vigilantes and injured another member of the public. The criminals also shot and killed another member of the vigilante, injured another and set 2 vehicles ablaze. A statement issued by the police public relations officer, Tochukwu Ikenga, says that the bodies have been recovered and the injured are currently receiving treatment in the hospital. The police adds that it condoles with the family, friends, and community of the dead, and it will leave no stone unturned until those behind the barbaric act are arrested and justice served. Now, the strategic approach of equipping and training tactical units to respond to insecurity in all parts of the country is being adopted to curb crimes, especially with the emergence of new terror groups in the northwestern part of Nigeria. This is according to the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, during his visit to Delta State for the handing over of utility vehicles by Governor Sheriff Oborewori to the police to assist the force in its mandate of tackling crime and criminality in the state.
The busy day begins with a courtesy call by the Inspector General of Police on the Governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oboriwori. The IGP is accompanied by the Delta Police Commissioner, Force PRO, Commander 63 Brigade Asaba, and other security chiefs in the state. From the government house, the team proceeds to commission 31 utility vehicles donated by the Delta State government.
Commission this fleet of operational vehicles for use by Delta State operators. Thank you very much.
The state government donated 31 vehicles, comprising of 23 pickups and 8 Sienna space wagons. This administration donated 4 Hiluxes few months ago, and today we are adding 31 brand new Hiluxes to the fleet, making a total of 66 vehicles to aid the daily and nightly patrols of the task force, particularly at this time of the year.
The vehicles are then formally handed over to the IGP. And then a symbolic drive by the police chief, who then speaks on security measures deployed by the police to fight crime.
We have in place our tactical units deployed all over, responding to distress situations in all the states of the Federation. We are not only deploying them, we are training them, and we are giving them the necessary equipment that they need to discharge their duties effectively and to serve their communities better.
The IGP later declared open the PPRO's Police Communication Experts Conference hosted by Delta State, after which he interacted with officers and men of the State Command and concludes the visit with the inauguration of Officers' Mess at Delta State Police Command headquarters.
More on security, the National Security Advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, has inaugurated the Federal Government's Council for the Coordination and Protection of Critical National Assets and Infrastructure. This inauguration is happening at a time when several national critical assets and infrastructure, including electricity, transmission, and telecommunication infrastructure lines, as well as oil installations, have recently come under severe attacks by vandals who continue to undermine national economic interests.
The National Security Advisor is leading dignitaries, including the Minister of Interior, the Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, the Commandants General of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, as well as heads of paramilitary agencies to this meeting.
I hereby inaugurate.
It is the official inauguration of the federal government's Council for the Coordination and Protection of Critical National Assets and Infrastructure, aimed at addressing the recent spike in vandalism of national infrastructure.
Critical national assets and infrastructure, which undergird our transportation system, energy grids, communication networks, and essential services, are the backbone of our society. However, in an ever-evolving landscape, fraught with challenges, these assets are also facing growing threats from various sources, including criminal terrorists. As National Security Advisor, I am delighted and honored to inaugurate the Federal Coordinating Council for Critical National Assets and Infrastructure Protection, which will midwife our efforts in the protection of Nigeria's critical national assets and infrastructure.
Recent vandalism of national electrical installations threw parts of the country into darkness, affecting businesses and impacting negatively on security and economy. However, the newly inaugurated council is expected to provide guidance to prevent, arrest, and restore vandalized assets.
What is happening in Nigeria today is it's just about any dying insecurity situation. They start looking for infrastructures, they start looking for soft targets, and they start looking at how to hit targets that they are hitting. But obviously with this particular council, I'm so happy that the end has come for those vandalism and various threats that we have in terms of our critical infrastructure. And of course, the NSCDC core responsibility is to protect critical national assets. And I think with this initiative today, that has come to life.
We must continue to lay emphasis on the need for domestic and international cooperation to protect local and regional connectivity projects based on respect for international law and fulfillment of bilateral and multilateral obligations towards international and regional organizations and initiatives.
The National Security Advisor chairs the council, while the Minister of Interior serves as the co-chair of the council. All heads of security agencies and paramilitary agencies are members of the council.
From protection of critical national assets to the fight against banditry, and the Minister of Defense, Badru Abubakar, is confident that the end of banditry is near and has urged troops to synergize with ground forces and other stakeholders to defeat the enemies of the country. Now, the minister, accompanied by the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, was speaking today when he commissioned 2 additional Attack 129 helicopters inducted into Operation Fansanyama Sector 2 at the airport wing of the Nigerian Air Force, Katsina State. He explained that the 2 additional helicopters have advantage over other fighter jets to ensure that no enemy can hide from justice, and were deployed to defeat bandits and other criminal elements that undermine the peace, stability, and prosperity of the Northwest region. The minister further saluted the courage, dedication, commitment, and personal sacrifice of the troops in the ongoing onslaught to secure Nigeria's future, which he believes are already yielding results.
We launch new platforms to fight the bandits and the terrorism in Katsina. And here we have an annex in Sokoto, thanks to the governor for all his support. We are arranging an annex here where some of the aircrafts will be stationed here also for the fight. So today we launch new aircrafts, new platforms for the fight against terrorism, and the latest version of attack helicopters, and some UAVs in Katsina. That's Sector 2 of the operations Fansanyama, and we come to inspect how ready Sokoto is to take some of these platforms that we have, so we can be able to deploy either from Sokoto or from Katsina to serve the Sector 2 of the command of the operation Fansanyama.
At the interim, what are your assessments?
Well, I think they are ready. You can see some of the aircrafts have landed. Even one of the platforms is here, and we will bring some more as we promised. And I think they are ready. And I inspected also the new site where we are building a permanent site for the Air Force, so as to really have strong annex here, so that a lot of other aircrafts can be brought here to support the fight. The Air Force is really pushing very hard with the recent attacks in so many bandits hideout, and you also know that the bandits are running away from us today. Now they are running away from the attacks, and the decisive and quick action taken on Lakurawa is a testament to the brilliance and the resilience of our armed forces.
In part 2, after the break, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, says the House has not yet taken a definitive position on the tax reform bills. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The Nigerian Air Force destroys bandit kingpin Malam Saleh's residence and arms depot in Niger State. National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu inaugurates the federal government's Council for the Coordination and Protection of Critical National Assets and Infrastructure. And Vice President Kashim Shettima launches the Grand Challenges Nigeria project aimed at driving innovation for a sustainable future for Nigerians. to politics, and the Martin Amaewhule-led River State House of Assembly has warned that it will not condone further attacks on the legislative arm of government or democracy in the state. Now, the House made this known during plenary today as they voted to commemorate October the 29th as a solemn day set aside to remember the burning of the hallowed chambers by yet-to-be-convicted arsonists. Our correspondent, Charles Oporum, reports.
It's the sitting of the Amaewhule-led River State House of Assembly. The leader of the House, Major Jack, raises a motion reminding the House of the arson on the Assembly complex.
I want to draw your attention that today, the 386th day, over a year, that the River State House of Assembly, Hallowed Chamber, was burnt down by the arsonists. Mr. Speaker, the arsonists are moving freely in Port Harcourt. Everywhere they are moving freely. Though some of them were arrested and taken to court, but none up to date has been convicted.
The issue is deliberated upon as lawmakers bemoan what they refer to as an attack on the legislature and democracy.
29th October 2023, and it's in this submission, that day is the date when the hallowed chamber of the River State House of Assembly was burnt down.
It is obvious that the executive tried to murder democracy by force, burning down the River State House of Assembly on the 29th of October 2023.
The Speaker, Martin Amaewhule, lets all present know that the events of October 29th will remain indelible in the minds of all.
The Speaker has moved that we declare the 29th of October a day to mourn the height of executive rascality in our country. A day to mourn how the legislature was attacked. If nothing happens to those who attacked the Rivers legislature on the 29th of October, it will be a shame to this country.
The matter is voted upon and agreed that 29th of October will be solemnly commemorated every year in the state.
Those for 23, against nil, abstention nil. Honorable members, by this voting, the 29th of October of every year will be a day that will be set aside for us to remember the attacks on the legislature of River State and our democracy in this country.
The chamber of the Assembly was burned on the 29th of October. The Speaker's residence was attacked by hoodlums on the 31st of October, while the Assembly complex was demolished on the 13th of December 2023. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
To the National Assembly, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, is making it clear that the House has not yet taken a definitive position on the tax reform bills, as it plans to scrutinize them thoroughly, ensuring that they align with the best interests of Nigerians. The Speaker stated this during a public hearing on tax reform bills currently before the National Assembly. Our correspondent, Terry Kumi, now reports.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives arrives for the hearing on 4 tax reform bills proposed by President Bola Tinubu. The importance of these bills could be tied to the mixed reactions which they have generated from the public. The tone of the event is set by the Deputy Speaker, closely followed by the Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
It is crucial for these provisions to be articulated clearly, highlighting how they align with the overarching goal of engendering equity, driving economic growth, and ensuring that no section of society is left behind. This tax reform represents a shift towards a sustainable fiscal framework, including where effective taxation is a tool for creating opportunities reducing inequalities and enabling every citizen to thrive.
We are not a policy formulator. We only listen, and whatever the law that is passed down to us, we implement.
The 4 tax reform bills have caused a division among lawmakers, with some openly rejecting it, mainly for the provision that restricts revenue generated in a particular state to that state.
I think that the essence of all these bills is to enhance our revenue and, of course, to block leakages. So I will appreciate my colleagues to have open minds towards it. I will appreciate a situation where we are all grounded in it, clause by clause, so that we will speak to facts rather than sentiments.
We just said that this model is not fair to most states. The biggest beneficiaries are Lagos, Rivers. So let everybody benefit from their contribution. That's what we are proposing. Then, if you make calls in Kano, why is Lagos State getting 20% of that?
The Speaker of the House, in declaring the event open, emphasizes the importance of taxes and neutrality of the House on the reform bills.
As representatives of the people, we must approach these reforms thoughtfully, understanding their potential implications for every segment of our society. Taxes should be fair, transparent, and justifiable. Let me be clear. The House has not taken any definitive position on these bills. Our role is to scrutinize them thoroughly, ensuring they align with the best interests of our constituents and the nation at large.
The task ahead of the National Assembly is huge, considering the dissenting voices that have trailed the introduction of the tax reform bills. Lawmakers would have to jettison personal sentiments and critically examine the finer details of the bill in national interest. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Vice President Kashim Shettima says the government of President Bola Tinubu remains steadfast in ensuring inclusivity and equity for all Nigerians by prioritizing people-centered policies and programs. He stated this at the launch of the Grand Challenges Nigeria project, which is aimed at driving innovation for a sustainable future for Nigerians. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, now reports.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, who chairs the Nigerian Nutrition Council, makes his way into the banquet hall of the State House, Abuja, where stakeholders from both the public and private sectors have converged for the launch of the Grand Challenges Nigeria project. The initiative focuses on leveraging innovation to improve health, foster gender equality, and promote diversity, equity, and inclusion within the Nigerian context.
This initiative reflects our shared commitment to reforming our economy, achieving food security, and prioritizing education, health, nutrition, and social investment as pillars of national development.
Inclusive innovation is vital. Women, youth, and marginalized groups must have a voice in shaping solutions that benefit all Nigerians.
The 14th Emir of Kano and Chairman Board of Trustees of the Nutrition Society of Nigeria, His Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido, advocates collective action.
We are still losing 107 children before the age of 5 years for every 1,000 live births. Regardless of where you put the blame, the responsibility for ameliorating these difficult conditions will require both focused effort and collective action.
Vice President Shettima believes the policies of the federal government are tailored towards improving the lives of the citizens.
I am confident that our core tribal as the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, the Nutrition Society of Nigeria, and all stakeholders fully understand the stakes at hand. Our collective commitment to the success of GCNG cannot be overstated, and this administration is steadfast in its resolve to provide the support needed to turn our aspirations into lifelines for our people.
He leads other guests to launch the Grand Challenges Nigeria projects. The Vice President also announces the first call for proposal on advancing innovative solutions for maternal, newborn and child health, promising adequate funding and support. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Let's now head to the nation's capital, where Terry Kumi is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Terry.
Well, thank you very much, Ayo. The special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on public communication and orientation, Mr. Sunday Dare, has disagreed with former President Olusegun Obasanjo over his criticism of President Tinubu's administration. Mr. Dare, in a statement on his X platform, describes Chief Obasanjo's regime as the most corrupt in the history of Nigeria. He said the former president has no moral rights to condemn any government, noting that he should apologize instead to Nigerians for not laying the foundational infrastructure needed for the country's advancement. Chief Obasanjo had, in a keynote lecture titled Leadership Failure and the State of Corruption in Nigeria, delivered at the Chinua Achebe Leadership Forum at Yale University, submitted that Nigeria is a failing state under President Tinubu's watch. He had also called for the dismissal of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, and officials of the commission at all levels as part of reform of the electoral process in Nigeria. On the news at 10, African Development Bank unveils $56 million climate change action fund to transform projects in 37 low-income African countries. That's on Business News, so stay with us. Welcome back to the news at 10. Now, the maiden edition of the Lagos International Theatre Festival, which kicked off on November the 14th across various venues in Lagos, has come to an end. This festival, as conceived by its founder, Bolanle Austin Peters, aims to celebrate and elevate the art of theatre by showcasing diverse and innovative performances, fostering cultural exchanges, as well as providing a platform for indigenous talent in the country and across the globe. Our correspondent, Ewaoluwa Ogunbodede, has more.
The third and final day of the Lagos International Theatre Festival features a collection of plays from across the continent. Theatre lovers and festival goers get to savour the festival ambience at the Musan Center venue, with makeshift stalls and vendors catering to different needs.
Now that is sheep to recoup my losses. Inconsequential.
On one of the stages at the venue, the play Anatomy of a Woman, directed by Austin Onoha, grabs the attention with its controversial themes surrounding women and society.
Excuse me, sorry, are you looking for anybody?
Pardon my manners, madam.
No, it's okay.
I am here to see Bola Tito.
Okay. Who should I tell her is looking for her?
Tell her it's our boss.
Ogani. See how to use left hand to talk it.
Yeah.
But you're the one taking care of us in Lagos.
We do our best. We do our best.
I love it. So. Okay, do you want anything to drink?
I am fine. I am very fine.
Okay. My name is Auntie Jebi. I have practically raised her since she was a child.
Maintaining the open atmosphere of the festival, the play is performed on the lawn, and the audience appear to enjoy the open-air approach.
Bien. What is wrong with you? What? Why are you behaving like a child? You want this man to open his mouth and tell you, I like you? Auntie, did he tell you that? Did he tell you that?
Mo is the representation of the younger generation or creatives who they want to express themselves, but they don't have the money for it. And those men who actually leech onto women who have ambitions and try to use them to step up. So that's the representation that Mo portrays.
Simultaneously, at the Terra Culture, festival goers enjoy South African play Metsi, meaning water, directed by Anna Van Tonder.
So Metsi is a story about Juliet and Mutaule who do everything they can, who find themselves, a story of migration, coming into township, the slums of Africa, and falling in love. But the only thing that keeps that love alive is the life source of water. So that's why it's called Metsi, which means water.
I know not. I still walk in the lounge, in beer parlors, and serving alcohol, because there's no job anywhere, Baba.
Veteran actor Tonye Shinaike stars in the one-man play centered in fate titled The Call, directed by fellow actor Bimbo Manuel.
To unbelievers, your own evangelists.
The Lagos International Theatre Festival not only creates an avenue for theatre practitioners to walk and gain more recognition for their craft, the festival also satisfies a void for theatre practitioners and followers who seek for representation and inclusivity on a bigger platform. Ewa Oluwa Ogunbodede, Channels Television News.
I am that I am.
From the nation's capital, let's go back to Ayo now in Lagos for more on the news at 10.
Many thanks, Terry. Coscharis Motors is now the official retail partner of Geely Auto International in Nigeria. This new partnership will see Coscharis Motors exclusively assemble and distribute the all-new Geely GX Pro and the new Coolray vehicles throughout the country. The announcement of the relaunch of Geely vehicles was made by the Group Managing Director of Coscharis Group, Mr. Josiah Samuel, during the visit of members of the House of Representatives Committee on Industry and the National Automotive Design and Development Council to the Coscharis Assembly Plant in Lagos.
Coscharis Motors Assembly Plant in the Awuyaya Lekki area of Lagos State. On this day, it's playing host to members of the House of Representatives Committee on Industry and the team from the National Automotive Design and Development Council who are on oversight duties.
This factory,
the Group Managing Director of Coscharis Group, Mr. Josiah Samuel, conducts the guests round the state-of-the-art assembly plant where globally respected automobile brands have been produced by Coscharis Motors, and now on the line being assembled is the Geely brand added to the company's portfolio. While the management of Coscharis Motors believes that a lot more needs to be done in terms of implementation of laws to protect indigenous organizations like Coscharis Motors, the chairman of the House Committee on Industry says all hands must be on deck to promote the Nigerian automotive industry.
With the production line of different types of vehicles, definitely they are not Santa Claus, they have to sell. They can't rely on government alone purchasing. That's not their market. Their market is 200 million Nigerians. But because the consumer prefers right now to go and buy a Tokumbo car, we must convince the consumer that the Tokumbo car is more expensive at the end of the day. That the Tokumbo car is more expensive than the brand new car.
We've had the opportunity to interface on issues around local assembly, local manufacturing of automobile, and I think it's been quite a very productive outing.
With the tour of the Coscharis assembly plant over, it's time for some of the guests to test drive the new Geely vehicles, which Coscharis describes as capable, refined, and reliable vehicle options that bridge the gap between luxury and budget.
The Geely is a great brand. Design, it's quite sporty. You're looking for an exciting adventure, you will want to test drive the Geely. You can find Geely to buy in all our showrooms today, whether in Lagos, Abuja, whether it's in Kano, Port Harcourt. The other very exciting thing about the Geely brand is that every Geely model comes with a 6-year warranty program.
Coast Charis Motors reiterates that the new Geely Cool Ray and GX3 Pro, in addition to other new models, have what it takes to meet customers' expectations, as the company looks forward to welcoming both existing and new customers. Yomi Otai with Channels Television News.
The start of the G20 summit in Rio, Brazil is rekindling hope that this will help accelerate COP29 negotiations as the climate talks in Baku, Azerbaijan is stalling. The conference has entered its second week, yet frustrations are rising as key priority of the talks have reached a stalemate. Countries are still negotiating the final figure of the climate goal, the type of financing, and who should pay. Our correspondent Ayola Kasim reports.
After 6 days and 3 negotiating texts, the latest, a 25-page draft that dropped Friday evening, negotiators got back to work on Monday to get the text in a state fit for ministers coming in the next few days.
I declare open the 5th meetings of the COP.
Unfortunately, at the 5th plenary, many are still left frustrated with the little progress made so far. Uganda spoke for the Group of 77 and China.
On loss and damage, the group wishes to express its disappointment that parties were not able to reach agreement on having outcomes under the agenda items.
For the African group, the outcome of Baku must go beyond the agreed text. It must deliver tangible improvement for African people most affected by the impact of climate change.
Regrettably, we cannot yet suggest that COP29 is meeting this expectation. The issue of special circumstances and special needs of Africa remain peripheral in the UNFCCC, and we trust in your leadership, Mr. President, to mainstream this aspect of our work.
One of the main contentious issues is developing a climate finance goal, known as the New Collective Quantified Goal on Climate Finance, otherwise known as the NCQG, which would provide financial assistance to developing countries to tackle emissions and transition away from fossil fuels.
Climate finance is development finance. There is no separation. So we're talking about new, additional, and non-debt inducing climate finance, meaning climate finance needs to come in the form of grants, not loans and further economic entrapment. It needs to come in the form of debt cancellation of all climate-related debts, because that's not the responsibility of the Global South to go out and borrow money and get deeper into debt to deal with the economic and devastating consequences of climate change that was caused by emissions primarily in the global north.
While optimistic that there will be a positive outcome by the end of the week, the COP29 president says he's also concerned that the parties are not cooperating enough, saying it is time for them to move faster.
This week we will welcome ministers from around the world as the negotiations reach their final stage. Politicians have the power to reach a fair and ambitious deal. They must deliver on this responsibility. They must engage immediately and constructively.
The COP29 presidency is urging leaders of the G20 countries, which account for 80% of the global emissions currently meeting in Rio, to make clear their mandates regarding the outcomes they expect in Baku. Ayola Kasim, Channels Television News.
See you tomorrow. Bye. Will Ebong is standing by for business news. Will?
Thank you, Ayotunde. The African Development Bank has launched a $56 million climate action window CAL to support 37 low-income African countries in tackling climate challenges. Announced at COP29, the fund will finance projects in adaptation, mitigation, and technical assistance. Governments, NGOs, and UN agencies can apply for funding of up to $1.3 million per project until February 2025. Backed by global partners like the UK and Germany, CAL aims to boost resilience against climate threats like floods and droughts. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has warned the public about fraudsters claiming to have contracts of funding awards linked to the bank. According to the CBN, these claims are false and aimed at defrauding unsuspecting Nigerians. The Apex Bank clarifies that it no longer funds development interventions or special projects and has not authorized any public notices about such programs. The bank urges Nigerians to stay vigilant and report suspicious activities to law enforcement as it remains focused on ensuring monetary stability and a sound financial system. With that, we head to the stock markets, which opened the new week slightly positive as investors make a dive for insurance stocks. Laddie Williams has the highlights of today's performance.
Welcome to the Monday market close for the fourth trading week in November. We see the All-Share Index kicking off with a marginal gain there, about 3 basis points to start the week. 97,747 points for the All-Share Index, and the market cap sitting pretty at 59 trillion. Now, let's look at the sectors. Now we see it's all red, with the sectors we track. Banking down over 0.5%, consumer goods 0.27%, and 8 basis points drop there for the oil and gas counter. And largely we see for the tier 1 banks, just UBA and Zenith Bank, adding to the share price today. That's UBA up 0.15%. A big drop there for Access called 3.03% down. Zenith Bank managing to rise there 0.46%. So these two contributing to the marginal rise that we see for the market today. So the week kicks off with positive market breadth with 29 gainers against 22 losing stocks. So that's how your money performed today. I'll see you at the market tomorrow.
And that wraps it up for business. It's back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Will. Here's Sami Pusi with our international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Authorities say at least 11 people have died and 63 have been injured in a Russian missile attack a day after Joe Biden gave Ukraine permission to use long-range weapons inside Russia. Here, emergency services tackling a fire near a residential building in Sumy. 2 children were among the dead. Another missile strike left the region's administrative center without power. It comes after the US president changed his mind and gave the green light for Ukraine to use long-range US missiles to strike deep inside Russia. The move, 2 months before President-elect Donald Trump takes office, follows months of requests by Ukraine to allow the military to use US weapons to hit Russian military targets far from its border. The first deep strikes are likely to be carried out using ATACMS rockets, which have a range of up to 190 miles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the missiles would speak for themselves.
The Republicans who are taking over both houses of Congress leading Republicans have long said that we should remove these restrictions. So here you have the Democratic administration doing something that the Republicans have asked for.
The decision by Joe Biden could allow other countries to follow suit, including the UK and the EU. Speaking from Brussels, the EU's foreign policy chief says the bloc should allow Ukraine to strike inside Russia.
I've been saying once and again that Ukraine should be able to use the arm we provided to them in order to not only to stop the arrow, but also to be able to hit the Arcus. I continue believing this is what has to be done.
An Israeli airstrike on a 5-story residential block in Beit Lahir in northern Gaza has killed at least 34 people. That's according to the local civil defense agency. The agency said many of the dead were women and children, with dozens still feared to be under the rubble. 7 people were also injured. The Israeli military said it had been striking militant targets in the north of Gaza, including Beit Lahir, in an attempt to stop Hamas from regrouping. Elsewhere in central Gaza, 3 separate attacks on refugee camps killed 15 people, while 5 more were killed in an Israeli drone attack on Rafah in the south. Australian lawmakers have voted to censor an Aboriginal senator who heckled King Charles during his visit to Canberra last month to express their profound disapproval of her protest. Lydia Thorpe shouted, "You are not my king, and this is not your land," shortly after the king addressed the Great Hall of Parliament in an effort to highlight the impacts of British colonisation. The Senate's censure, which passed 46-12, described Thorpe's actions as disrespectful and disruptive and said they should disqualify her from representing the chamber as a member of any delegation.
That is my point. Censure motion is...
Thorpe told reporters she had been denied her right to respond. Vehicles and people were seen navigating knee-high waters in the province of Nueva Ecija after Super Typhoon Man-yi swept across the Philippines' main island of Luzon. Here, drone footage showing the extent of the flooding, which sent more than 1 million people into taking shelter. Authorities have yet to report on any casualties except for severe landslides and infrastructure damage along the path of the typhoon. Man-yi was the 6th tropical cyclone to hit the Philippines in a month, which sees an annual average of 20 storms hitting the country. And Japan is seeing a record boom in tourism, but one recent visitor travelled more than the circumference of the Earth to get there, using boats, trains, camels, and even hitchhiking. Modern-day adventurer Omar Nock became a social media celebrity, attracting more than 750,000 Instagram followers, as he documented his route from Egypt across a dozen countries without once boarding a plane.
Hitchhiked to Mecca and finally arrived.
On his trek, he hitchhiked to Islam's holy city of Mecca, sandboarded the dunes of Iran, broke down in the Tajikistan mountains in a purple Dodge Challenger driven by another adventurer, and also crossed paths of Kazakhstan and Kazakhstan, riding horses and camels. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
And thank you and welcome to Sports News. The Super Eagles' dream of finishing their campaign at the 2024 African Cup of Nations qualifier unbeaten has been dashed by Rwanda's Amavubi, who came back from behind to stun Nigeria 2-1 at the Nest of Champions in Uyo. Samuel Chukwueze had given Nigeria the lead in the 59th minute of the first half, but the visitors replied with 2 quick goals under 3 minutes, with Angel Mutsinze and Innocent Umshute scoring in the 72nd and 75th minute. The win was, however, of no significance as Benin Republic picked the second ticket in Group D, having held host Libya to a goalless draw. Group D qualifiers end with the Super Eagles on 11 points from 6 games, Benin on 8 points with a superior goal difference, with Rwanda, who are also 8th, while Libya finished bottom with 5 points. Edo Queens coach Moses Aduku is confident the team can make history as the first Nigerian side to reach the finals of the Women's CAF Champions League when they take on Democratic Republic of Congo's TP Mazembe ladies. Coach Aduku says the team aims to surpass the legacy of their compatriot Bayelsa Queens, who made it to the knockout stages in 2022 ahead of Tuesday's crucial encounter in Morocco. Rivers Hoopers have retained the Nigeria Premier Basketball League title with a 71-54 win against Hopes and Reed earlier today. Rivers Hoopers clinched the first quarter 24-18. The second quarter ended 34-29, while the Hoopers retained the lead 51-41 at the end of the third quarter. The Rivers state-owned basketball team will now fly the country's flag at the Basketball African League next year. Earlier, Boko City Chief beat Nile University 63-60 to win third place match. That's sports. It's back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Chris. And the main news again. The Nigerian Air Force has destroyed bandit kingpin Malam Saleh's residence and arms depot in Niger State. The National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu has inaugurated the federal government's Council for the Coordination and Protection of Critical National Assets and Infrastructure. And Vice President Kashim Shettima today launched the Grand Challenges Nigeria project aimed at driving innovation for a sustainable future for Nigerians. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. You have a good night.